verbal and nonverbal cues. I was speaking at an event like 2 weeks ago, and somebody came up after because I said I was a preschool teacher, and they had a child who hits the other kids.
Mm-hmm.
And she wanted to know, how can she do that? It's like, I tell her to use her words.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, but what if she doesn't know the words? I was like, we cannot always say, use your words. We have to model the words. And sometimes we have to give the words to the child. So they may know happy, sad, angry, but what if they're feeling confused and they don't know that word, or frustrated or aggravated and they don't know that word and stuff. And those kids grow up to be adults. You know, we think because somebody's a certain age that they know. Like, you have to know how to use the MBTA. No, if nobody showed them how to get the Charlie card and put money on it, no, they don't know how.
Yeah.
So we have to model that behavior and give them the words to use that.
Yeah. I love that you say that, because going back to the University of Life Skills here at Bridge, it's constantly a teaching where, and I tell my team, you are literally a role model. You are a mirror, and you need to use what you, and some people are very worried about putting their words in somebody else's mouth. And please understand that that person will not pick that word or that feeling if they don't attach to it. So don't feel uncomfortable by saying, well, I don't want to say it's confused if they say something else. No, that's okay, because they'll find the right feeling that it feels to it, and you're helping them throughout the whole process. There was a question that came out that says, how can we teach emotion management in a non-judgmental way?
In a non-judgmental way.
Mm.
Emotional management is kind of personal, right? So I guess non-judgmental would be to watch your tone, because basically tone is everything.
Yeah.
But it's kind of personal, because what can upset me may not upset somebody else. So you should never be like, that's nothing to get angry about. Just because something like that doesn't make you angry doesn't mean. So that's one way. Like I said, don't inflict your capacity on somebody else. Just because you have the capacity to say, oh, my light bill getting cut off, that don't stress me out, you know, because it could stress out somebody else.
Yeah, I love that. You're right. There's a constant of checking our own privileges and our own developmental and our own mental health, right? Because you're right. Some of us have our mental strength is much stronger and much more evolved than others, and so that can also come out in a judgmental way. You know, I've always been told my tone sometimes is very like direct, and so I start with that and say, hey, I know I'm very direct, and that's not my intentions to come out this way, but how can we have this conversation? So letting somebody know, I usually just say what comes out of my mind. And so how does it work best for you? Like, teach me how to talk to you and how to perceive. And so that's always important, where you don't have to know all the answers, but how do you make that path and saying, I have something to tell you, what's the best way for me to tell you? And some people, you know, some of young people say, can you write it? You know, do you pick a music that can attach to it? Don't look at me. So as in the therapy session, while the person's talking, I'm over here, because they were afraid of the eye contact. So really asking somebody, how would you want us to have this conversation that's more safe for you, is very important, because we're always, I think as therapists, we believe that we know the answers, right? And like you said, you're not a therapist or a social worker. You just wanted people to feel safe. And that's what therapy or community should be, just feel safe. But you have to tell me, Toy, or the person, how does that make you feel safe, right? Now, I can't say, this is my office, like, okay, you're safe, I'm a therapist, tell me everything. No, it don't work that way. And we work here very much with our therapists. Just because you have an appointment and they show up, that doesn't mean they're going to talk to you. They can sit there for 45 minutes and not tell you anything. You have to ask them.
Exactly. It could be the person who abused them had pictures on their walls. So just being in that office is making them unsafe, but you don't know. So I like that until you ask the question, do you feel safe here?
Yeah.
And what can I do to make you feel safe?
Yeah.
Because it could be something like, can you take the pictures off the wall? Like,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, that
Yeah.
I don't feel safe that, you know, like my mom used to take the pictures and throw them at me. Like you don't know until you ask the question. So I
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah. I had a young lady that when I did therapy here at Bridge, that we had our sessions in the washer and dryer room. And it was just her safe space. And we could, the office made her too clamped in, even though the drying and washer room was much smaller. She would sit in the washer or the dryer, she would pick, and I'll sit in the other one, and we just talked. And there was the while the washer and dryer was going on, that helped her relax, which was interesting. I was like, okay, that was good for you. And we had so many deep conversations on that safe that she picked. And it was in my office, and it wasn't the kitchen. She started in the kitchen, we started there, but then that made her uncomfortable because she felt dumb because she couldn't cook. So then I was like, next time I give her recipes, little recipes. So we started recipes, and then we had a conversation. She's like, let's try the washer and dryer. Okay, we started there and sat there. And it's okay, I think, having those abilities and here at Bridge to be able to Rubik's Cube that in is important, because it's not about us, it's about how we teach you to be in your safe place, for you to be able to talk. And if no one's in a safe place, they're not going to talk to you. So I don't care how, you want to talk about it, they won't.
And sometimes you have to, a lot of people ain't gonna say that they're uncomfortable. So sometimes you have to be visual to see their body movement and stuff. Because one time I was at a play downtown, I forget which place, but the seats, like I'm a big woman, but I know I'm not the biggest woman. So the seats there, like it was hurting my hips. So I said, these seats are not comfortable for me. Can you move me someplace else? And they moved me to a chair, but I have that no matter where I go. The doctor's office, I'm looking to see if the chair has arms on it. Because I know if it has arms, I'm not going to be comfortable and stuff. And I said, they don't have no big people on their board, because they would know to have some chairs in this office that do not have arms on it.
Yeah.
But, and then I thought, I'm like, what if nobody else is advocating for themselves to say that these chairs are too small? Because like I said, I'm not the biggest person, that other people are sitting through a 4-hour play, just switching and turning. So you have to be, like, that's why I said visual, to see if that person is comfortable to ask those questions, because they may not know how to advocate for themselves to say, these pictures are triggering me,
And the trigger warnings is real. It's completely real. In DBT, we talk a lot about how to really understand those trigger warnings and how can we get through it together. Like, we know it's going to happen at this time. Like, some things we can't change. You're going to walk into an office, there's going to be pictures. But if you talked about this in therapy, when you're there, what are you going to do?